Now, what do parents want when it comes to their child's personal and educational data? Well, we want our child and our family's data to be private and not freely shared with outside entities. We as parents want control over this information. Now, every state that adopted PARC and Common Core had to commit to build a statewide preschool through workforce data system in order to receive the Race to the Top funding. Now, the Race to the Top Assessments program awarded grants to PARC to develop assessments aligned to Common Core. Now, PARC member states are bound by the terms of these agreements. Now, this slide up here, it comes directly from a cooperative agreement between the U.S. Department of Education and PARC. Number 5 says that working with the department to develop a strategy to make student-level data that results from the assessment system available on an ongoing basis for research. Number 6 states, from the same document, that PARC must provide timely and complete access to any and all data collected at the state level to the U.S. Department of Education. And if we look at Ohio's Memorandum of Understanding for Race to the Top grants, you can see that number 10 says that we are bound to everything that PARC told the federal government it would do. Now, the Common Core Initiative also contains a provision that allows participating school districts to ignore FERPA and HIPAA protection laws. Now, the Family Education's Right and Privacy Act, called FERPA, formally guaranteed that parents can access the test taken and any data collected by schools concerning their children. It also barred schools from sharing this information with third parties and required personal information to be deleted. Now, with the Common Core revised FERPA laws in place, districts cannot legally show parents or even teachers the test given or the data collected from the children. Now, the schools are then required to give all the data, including personal information, to a third party who can then sell the data to anyone that they deem has a right to. Now, HIPAA privacy waivers were also given to schools through Common Core to allow personal health histories about your child to be given to third parties. Now, this is taken directly from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services regulation section, and it states in part, protected health information excludes individually identifiable health information in education records covered by FERPA, which was amended. So, in summary, Common Core changed the laws as followed. Number 1, it removed parents' rights to see any test given or data collected on their children, as well as data on the parents. It also required school districts to turn over all the data collected, including personal and even medical health histories, over to a third party. It allowed that third party then to sell that data to anyone that they see fit. And this is all being done without parental consent. Well, what type of sensitive data is being collected now on your children and your family through these data systems? Well, they'll be collecting data on over 400 different points, including healthcare history, family income range, disciplinary history, parental voting status, religious affiliation, political affiliation, alcohol consumption in the home, and if there are smokers. Gun ownership is also on there too. Now, to understand why they are collecting all this data and changing the FERPA and HIPAA privacy laws, we need to have a look at what the Department of Education is working on. Now, in February of 2013, the Department of Education created this document, which analyzed how to record any factors that might affect educational success, including socioeconomic background, classroom climate, personal goals, and emotions during homework assignments. This study recommends that facial expression cameras, posture analysis seats, pressure computer mice, eye tracking devices, and computer programs to track a student's mood to be used in schools. Now take a look at this document here. This is from the Department of Justice, stating that the Department of Justice inventory will be enriched with the Common Core metadata. Did you know that the Department of Justice was getting data from your children and your family? I didn't. That's because all this is being done without our knowledge. Now, to find out how they are using this data, we need to look at all the companies involved, either through funding, promoting, or writing the standards. Now, why do all these companies want to invest in education? Well, their main interest is in how they can use this data to control their markets by influencing their consumers. Now, data is the new oil. It's this new money-making machine, and everyone is desperate to get it. And what are they going to be getting? Again, they're collecting over 400 data points, including healthcare history. Do you think MetLife and State Farm would like to have that information? And there's actually a document from the National Center for Educational Statistics that has 187 pages of points of data that they will be collecting on kindergartners. That's right, 187 pages of medical data, home data, behavioral data, everything. Now, it's very important to note that the third party that gets control of every state's data system is the federal government. And there is no constitutional authority for the federal government to have any information on our families or our children, period. Now, perhaps the most immediate threat to the homeschools and private school students is the expansion of this data system. The designers of the new systems completely intend for homeschool and private school students to be part of the massive data collection. At the National Convention on Student Assessments in 2011, officials at Oklahoma explained to the CCSSO how the challenge of meeting the data requirements of federal and state education policies are motivating them to include student groups not now included, which would be homeschoolers. Again, here the intent is to include everyone. Now, this is a lady who was a Chinese immigrant, and I'm going to quote a letter that she wrote regarding her perspective on data collection. She says this: "The government used the household registration and personal file system to keep track of its citizens from birth to death. This old photo of me in Mao's Red Guard uniform was used in my middle school student file, which documented everything: age, gender, parents, their jobs and political classes, religion, siblings, home address, your grades, your awards, punishments, politically incorrect speeches, your bad behaviors, everything. Then this file followed me to my high school, college, my first job, my future jobs. It was shared by all the government agencies and employers. And even though I finally broke the tracking of Chinese government of me by coming to America, I still feel sometimes that I am haunted by my file." Now, as a parent, this is very concerning. There's a huge loss of family privacy, there's loss of freedom, and most importantly, it's invasive to the child without our permission. And what will our society be like when everyone has a track record of everything from childhood? And how free can we be?